welcome to the Glitter Show with me, Jillian Godsil. Today my guest is Owen Healy, who is lead recruiter with Blockchain Headhunters and one of the leading recruiters in this space, and a bit of a man to watch, I have to say. So Owen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No worries. Thanks very much.
Now, you're a young chap, but you have been making huge strides and you're very high profile. You've got a huge following on LinkedIn, and you're placing a lot of big hitting jobs. So you're actually doing really, really well. How did you get into blockchain and why recruitment?
Yeah, so just to clarify, I'm not that young. I'm actually 30, but anyway, I
You
got
look
into
much younger. Whatever cream you're using, it's working.
Yeah, it works. Thankfully. I guess I got into my story in Web3 is kind of one of default rather than design. I had been very much interested in the blockchain space, I suppose, for a couple of years now, and I suppose over the course of COVID, I found myself unemployed and got into working as a freelance Web3 recruiter. And through that, then I was able to be connected with Blockchain Headhunter, who I do the vast majority of my work for at the moment. And yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic. It was really an accident as to how I got into the space. And yeah, it's a wonderful space to be in. I can't see myself working in any other industry now. I'm almost 2 years in the space. So yeah, long may it continue.
You're an OG at this stage.
Don't know about that, yeah.
So what appeals to you about recruiting, just in general?
I suppose it's it's fast paced. You have to be on your A game the whole time. You're speaking to a diverse array of different people. I suppose you're seeing kind of trends transpire before they happen as well within the Web3 space in particular. My recruitment prior to Web3 would have been in-house, so there would have been kind of a lot of different criteria used. But with respect to Web3 recruitment, you're at the forefront of everything. You're meeting with so many influential people on a day-to-day basis, and you're learning things as well as you go along. I suppose I'm getting very much interested in blockchain development. Whilst I'll never be a developer, or probably never smart enough to be a developer, I love interacting with developers and learning about what they are doing on a day-to-day basis, as well as I enjoy speaking to marketing professionals in the space as well, equally, learning about how there's different nuances compared to Web 2 to Web3 marketing.
That's very true. I did an article recently with a number of CMOs, and they were all saying back in Web 2, you could do your marketing, whatever it was they were mostly digital, but they came from a wide spectrum of marketing backgrounds, and you could tell where everybody came from. Web 3, you haven't got a clue. It's just like it's like the magic stuff, and the community is big, but it's so different. So tell me, do you have any particular favorite projects that you're working on? Have you come across ones that you like more than others?
Well, I suppose the client's information, unfortunately, confidential.
No, as in a protocol, perhaps protocols. So just as you survey the whole scene, what protocols do you prefer?
Yeah, so I'm a huge Bitcoin advocate. I'm probably best way to describe me would be, I suppose, 95% Bitcoin, 5% everything else. And I do believe a proof of work world and a proof of stake world can coexist. I suppose my ideology fundamentally is fix the money, fix the world, and then everything will sort itself out. And I believe that Bitcoin is the best solution in order to do that. And I suppose proof of stake wise, I believe I look at that really through the lens of a DAO, really, as to why both worlds can coexist and how that can transform the future of work. And I suppose with regards to protocols themselves, I'm a huge fan of projects like Layer 1, such as Zilliqa and Algorand, of course. And yeah, I'm always looking for the next big startup that could potentially revolutionize the market. And yeah, I've been wrong a lot of times in the last 2 years as to what the next big thing could be, I suppose. But yeah, no, I love looking at early stage projects, and I suppose we get a lot of Series A's that come to us looking to build our team. So it's great to kind of learn about those as well.
So when you're looking at the different protocols and say the Series A round that you're looking at, has anything changed in the last 2 years? Do you see a development of a maturity of the marketplace, or is it just all just coming out of lockdown?
I've seen a huge change in the last couple of months. With respect to Series A's, I guess what was going on about 6 months ago is absolutely ludicrous and crazy. A half decent blockchain developer with a few lines of code with a half decent pitch deck could get a couple of million for a project very, very easily. VCs are throwing money left, right, and centre at these projects. Now there's a lot more due diligence involved. There's a lot of money waiting on the sidelines to be invested in the Web3 space. I suppose there's a lot of people are a lot of these VCs are looking to deploy that money, probably due to macroeconomic factors among others, but there is a much more stronger emphasis on due diligence within Web3 startups and as to how they invest. And that's really it's nearly changed drastically over the last 12 to 16 weeks.
And is that because like the war in Ukraine or the energy crisis, the climate crisis, are these things feeding in?
I don't know. I suppose there's obviously been a lot of crypto horror stories becoming more mainstream. A lot of these VCs are a lot more reluctant to invest recklessly, as a lot of them have done. And yeah, I suppose there's probably a liquidity crisis in the general economy as well. So they just want to be more careful as to how they allocate their capital. Yeah.
What other trends are you witnessing? I mean, in terms of like finance, what's your stance on CBDCs? Love them or hate them?
I hate them. I just listen. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't plan to be a conspiracy theorist. But sometimes you get sucked down a rabbit hole, unfortunately, and it's hard to get out of it. Just with respect to CBDCs, I just think that, like, if you ever get ostracized from society, for example, the government could potentially freeze your wallet, and then and then where do you go then? So that's where I stand on CBDCs. I think that money and state should be separated, and that's a step backwards rather than forwards, personally. So
yeah, it's true, isn't it? Because money and state being separated is still quite a novel concept with the traditional world. Whereas we all know that church and state should be separated. Here in Ireland, it happened a bit later than it should have. This century's been better, but money and state, separating money and state is an interesting concept. When you're going to go, oh, that sounds strange. Well, actually, maybe it's not so strange. Where would you have come from those ideas? Where'd you learn that, or what inspired you to think that money and the state should be separate?
Well, just when you mentioned the church, I suppose Bitcoin, I believe, is God's money. I suppose but it's respect to how I kind of got involved in that ideology. Funnily enough, how I understood about Bitcoin was I Googled internet money, I think about 7 or 8 years ago, and found Bitcoin and didn't invest, didn't do anything. And then I just saw this reckless, I invested a couple of euros, nothing major, in 2017. Then there was obviously a dip in 2018, got out as soon as I got in. And then in 2020, obviously the COVID pandemic started, and I just obviously witnessed a huge print that occurred, and I just went back into the rabbit hole effectively and said there must be something to this. And then the laser eyes came on, and they haven't been turned off ever since.
Speaking of laser eyes, what do you think about sort of modern pop culture influencing cryptocurrencies? Laser eyes, diamond hands, Elon Musk. Do you think there is unwarranted interference in the pop culture, or is that just?
Well, I suppose from the NFT side of things, they're obviously been well documented advertising or promoting securities, and from that perspective, a lot of celebrities have been warned in that respect. But yeah, I guess listen, it's like for a lot of these celebrities, it's a cash grab. Again, I love the way NFTs could democratize the music industry, and like you've seen in Blockchain Ireland, of course, Joyce Maloney talked very well about the art industry and how NFTs could democratize that as well. But I guess with regards to things like fan tokens, I just think that a lot of times it can be just a bit of a cash grab. And listen, I suppose, and you just see
what do
some
you think
of these
about sporting organizations getting involved? There's a lot of football clubs getting involved.
That's the thing. Like, is it like where can it? Like, it all comes down to what value can it offer its community as a whole? Where's the utility? If there's utility there, and great. If not, well, then it's a rug pull. And I suppose there is a lot of these clubs just looking for the cash, I suppose. Whereas, how do you integrate these ideas into its core business, and how do the fans, I suppose, extract value is another story, I suppose.
What do you think about the metaverse? Is it here yet? Will it come? Is it a whole smoke and mirrors?
I'm conflicted on the metaverse. I love the potential of the metaverse as anyone in Web3 would. I think that it could really revolutionize the global labor market, and turn the world into a more proof of work based world, rather than a proof of place world, which it currently is to a large degree. And if we're working on the metaverse, we could be working alongside various different people of various different nationalities, earning similar salaries. And Web3 is really accelerating the democratization of labour markets as it is. The global labour market in Web3 is very borderless and very skills orientated, not where you went to college, not who you know that could help you get up the ladder. And the metaverse can really accelerate that even further, I believe. But I suppose there is that whole dystopian aspect to the metaverse as well, of course, that I do worry about. Like take Meta, for example, where they plan on making money off people's biometric data.
That's scary.
That is scary. And if we were working in a metaverse, what could happen then? And even if we're working in a metaverse, hypothetically, could our keyboard strokes or could our eye movement be a reflection of a lack of engagement in the job, and could that be used in a disciplinary hearing, and could that get us dismissed? And then we're living in a George Orwell sort world. So I'm conflicted on the metaverse, but I love the concept. I just think that there needs to be a lot more. Just needs to be a lot more clarity, I suppose, from a regulation point of view, and I suppose people's rights need a little bit more consideration, I suppose, rather than jumping in.
Did you find that lockdown sped up, or did it have any impact on Web3, the lockdown?
So, good question, I suppose. It probably helped Web3, I suppose. Obviously, massive amounts of liquidity being pumped into risk assets would naturally help the prices, but it also helped a lot, like I suppose a lot of the coverage that blockchain tech got, I suppose, helped a lot of new interest become crypto curious and get into the space as a result. So it probably has accelerated the adoption of the technology. That's, I would say, yeah.
What do your parents think about crypto and Web3?
Oh, Jesus.
Do they understand it?
I'm looking forward to me showing them this, to be honest. It's kind of like trying to knock down a brick wall.
There's so many concepts, though.
And I'm trying to knock it down to a chisel, effectively. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I think that they do believe that if you fix the money, you fix the world. But listen, it's a work in progress.
And I'm not picking on your parents per se. It's just I do reckon from my own time talking to people, like my mom is 91, and she keeps saying, "Jill, you're earning some real money and not just silly money," you know. She worries about me, and it is hard because even though you can point out to somebody, you know, World War II in particular, Bretton Woods, Nixon decoupling,
Germany, I suppose,
you know, and the U.S. Reserve, you know, then Nixon decoupling the dollar from the gold, and all these things, even though you put on quantitative easing, even though you can point all these things out, because it's a known, if you like, or known unknown, perhaps even, it's hard to be able to say, well, think of it in those terms. It's like when you said earlier, you said that money and state should be separate. It's not actually intuitive. If you grew up in an environment where money and state are connected, it's very hard to, oh, what would that look like?
Yeah. No, but like I just try and actually, when we have this conversation, it's just kind of a case of you try and talk about basic money and what it is. When you have a system where you print the principal and not the interest, you always have to go back to the well and print more to keep the thing going. And I suppose now that a lot, like I suppose when you notice it now, I suppose, and a population growth has a huge aspect of this. Obviously, the population growth rate as a percentage is drastically decreased. So there's not those same troves of people going to the bank for loans now. So I think the current fiat system is on a ticking time bomb. And the only way to keep it going is to create even further wealth disparity. And you try and mention that kind of thing, but again, it's work in progress, as I said.
Yeah, well, no, that's fair enough, because it's very difficult. People who are entrenched in traditional financial systems to see there could be a different way, even though I think instinctively people know that the system is broken. It's very hard to make that leap to what could replace it. So finally,
It's
then,
like being
oh, sorry.
in a job, I suppose, and you're kind of so in for so many years, I suppose. You just, you know, you don't want to say like what else, you know, is out there, you know.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that finally, so what's hot in recruitment at the moment? What type of roles are you being asked to find people for?
Yeah, so Rust is exploding as the demand for Rust developers is going through the roof at the moment. You've obviously seen the growth of various different ecosystems that work primarily with Rust have grown in popularity. Yeah, no, Rust is growing and growing. The demand for Solidity's professionals is still strong. There's also a good demand for Golang developers to work in Web3. And on the non-technical side, yeah, things are struggling. There's no point in saying otherwise. Community, copywriters, CMOs, for example. Yeah, it's product as well in particular. These areas have all struggled with the bear market, and yeah, hope like I suppose yeah, they don't look like to be recovering anytime soon, I suppose. But I guess what one area that is thriving, I suppose, is for high level business development, institutional sales professionals that can help these projects raise further funds. So a lot of these projects, as I'm sure you are well aware, blew their Series A rounds, hired recklessly, spent recklessly on marketing, etc., etc. And now they're looking for these gurus effectively to help them with further raises. So I think there's huge potential for VCs within the crypto space at the moment. So yeah, so
Do you
yeah,
think I know
anyone that has Web3 experience as a venture capitalist, the world is their oyster at the moment. Yeah, and yeah, we're actually the Blockchain Headhunter is actually trying to link projects with VCs as well. You can see the page on LinkedIn as well. I just do a shameless plug on crypto funding if you wanted to look it up. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so if people want to find you, is LinkedIn your preferred platform?
Yeah, it's yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, so Owen
Yeah,
Healy.
24/7 on it. Whether that's
Okay.
good or bad, I don't know.
Okay, so if you have a job, want a job, or want to find out more, go and follow Owen on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, Owen. Thank you.
It's much appreciated. Yeah. Thanks.